that we have a mission to civilize mankind. And this mission took them not only to colonize the rest of the world, that's bad enough, but that didn't end the story. When they colonize a part of the world, they do not leave, they do not decolonize until and unless they have put in place institutions which will ensure that that society will continue to be ruled by them, by property. And in the process, they seek to transform the rest of mankind into carbon copies of themselves. This never happened before in history. If I do not seek to understand what's happening here, then I've got peanuts in my head. When will I wake up? When will I begin to think? When will the world have more to me than McDonald's hamburgers? What's happening here?
So we're standing up for the dignity of the world and for the freedom of the world, and people of conscience need to stand up and speak with more power and be more fervent and be vibrant in what you have to say and witness it in season and out of season, no matter what the polls say, no matter who is in Congress, no matter who is in the White House. Speak and preach and teach and organize until justice prevails. God bless you.
Is going to impact on the world economy. Number one, on the price of oil. Not only because Iran is a major supplier of oil, but also because Iran is located in that basin that the Iranians call the Persian Gulf and the Arabs call the Arab Gulf, and they're still fighting over the words. The price of oil is going to shoot up because Iran can also block the Straits of Hormuz. You see, Iranian territory on this side and Oman on that side. It's not difficult for Iran to block the Straits of Hormuz and disrupt all the passage of oil tankers. So we can anticipate fairly confidently that the price of oil is going to escalate dramatically once the attack takes place. And the American government knows that. And that's why the American government does not want Iran to be attacked. Because the American government knows, and the Federal Reserve knows, and the bankers also know, that the US dollar is going to collapse. It will not survive an Israeli attack on Iran with the price of oil shooting up through the roof. And if the US dollar collapses, of course they're going to have to demonetize the US dollar. It will no longer be legal tender. They have to have something in place. They probably already have something to replace it, but at a fraction of its previous value. The American economy is going to collapse. Large numbers of white Americans are going to lose their wealth. And many of them are going to be listening to this lecture. There's going to be chaos in the United States when the economy collapses. There can be riots in the United States, and they're already anticipating that. And so an attack on Iran would lead to economic, financial, and monetary consequences that will be disastrous for the US economy. An attack on Iran can be launched simultaneously with an attack on Pakistan. The purpose would be to eliminate Pakistan from the nuclear club. And it is time for Muslims around the world to recognize, including Muslims in Iran, that Israel's most strategic partner, most strategic ally in the world today, after the United States, is India, with Saudi Arabia neck and neck behind India. And so not only must India be involved in the attack, but also when the attack takes place on Pakistan, and if it succeeds, then in the sequel it is India who must now control the region on Israel's behalf. The denuclearization of Pakistan and the breakup of Pakistan into bits and pieces will impact upon Muslims in the whole of that subcontinent in such a way as to bring about a state of demoralization and despair, and send shock waves to Muslims in the rest of the world. That one of the largest Muslim communities around the world, in India, Pakistan and Bangladesh, have now come under the foot of Hindu India. So India will rule the entire South Asia with NATO in control in Afghanistan for the United States of America. Israel will attack Iran in order to commence wars that she hopes will follow one after the other. As soon as Israel attacks Iran, the first implication is that Iran is going to attack Iraq. And Iran is strategically poised, advantageously poised, to attack the United States in Iraq. That Iran is also likely to attack Bahrain. And it should not be difficult for Iran to take Bahrain. Bahrain cannot stand up to an attack from Iran. Bahrain is just across the water from Iran. I am suggesting to you that Iran is going to attack and take Bahrain. And if and when Iran attacks and takes Bahrain, then there's a causeway between Bahrain and Saudi Arabia where you can drive back and forth. The road will be clear to Saudi Arabia. I am anticipating, and the Saudis probably already have their plans laid out very well, because they know what's going to happen. And Israel already knows what's going to happen. That they're then going to turn to the United States to invoke whatever secret agreements they have of defense. That the United States has to intervene in Saudi Arabia to protect Saudi Arabia from an attack from Iran. I think the Zionists in the US Congress will ensure, even though the US armed forces would not want to go in there, even though the Barak administration would not want to go into Saudi Arabia, the Zionists in the US Congress will ensure that American forces will have to enter into Saudi Arabia to face Iran. They're setting a trap for the United States, so that the United States is going to be led to a situation where it's going to be facing defeat. I think that for Russia and for China, an Israeli attack on Iran, particularly if it involves the use of nuclear weapons, would be recognized as a threshold being crossed. And so long as you did not cross that threshold, Russia and China were prepared to go along and continue in the Security Council of the United Nations, for example, cooperating and collaborating where possible in managing the affairs of the world. But once you cross that threshold, the implication for Russia and China is that you have crossed the point of no return. And that an attack on Iran is now going to inevitably lead to World War. That after Iran and after Pakistan, And after the Arabs, the Zionists are going to turn on China and Russia to make sure that China and Russia also bend down their knees and accept Israel, so that Israel can become the ruling state in the world. And so Russia and China would know, today it's them, tomorrow it's us. And they're not going to wait until tomorrow to recognize that. The minute Iran is attacked, they will recognize that the threshold has been crossed and that we are now moving inevitably towards nuclear war. Russia and China acted strangely on Libya. You remember? When the vote came to the Security Council, they abstained, knowing full well that if they abstain, the resolution will be carried. And that is the end of Gaddafi and end of the Libyan government. Why did they do that? I felt that perhaps they knew what the plan was. And they wanted to let the Western world, NATO, to sink deeper and deeper into a quagmire, you know, like shifting sands, you can't get up. So eventually they will end up in the graveyard, and only then will Russia and China attack them. My understanding is that Russia and China are going to be quite different in the way they have behaved so far in international affairs. Quite different once the attack on Iran takes place. And so we will be heading ultimately towards world war.
Because if you're a believer, you can never justify war. You can never justify war. You can never justify colonialism or neo-colonialism or imperialism. You can't justify that. And I'm going to tell you, Latin America and the School of the Americas and the United States role is only a small slice of the pie. For what they do in Latin America is being done in Africa, and what is being done in Africa is being done in the Middle East, and what is being done in the Middle East is being done in Asia. So we're standing up for the dignity of the world and for the freedom of the world, and people of conscience need to stand up and speak with more power and be more fervent and be vibrant in what you have to say and witness it in season and out of season, no matter what the polls say, no matter who is in Congress, no matter who is in the White House. Speak and preach and teach and organize until justice prevails. God bless you.